Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Scavage Predator figure from NECA Toys. We're going to take a look at the second of their newest wave of action figures based on those awesome vintage Kenner Predator toys. As you can see, it comes in that same style blister card packaging that pays homage to those great Kenner figures, with that profile of the Predator mask and those bright purple, red, and yellow colors right there on the front, as well as some awesome new artwork on the lower portion of the card of the Scavage Predator. And then when you flip that package around to the back side, we also get that continued homage to the vintage packaging with that great grid line work in the background, a description of the Scavage Predator, and a look at the other two figures in this current Kenner wave. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at this guy outside of the packaging. The first thing I want to point out while pulling this guy out of the box is that most of the figure shares sculpt with the Nightstorm Predator that was released in NECA's first round of Kenner homages. The reason for this is because the vintage Scavage Predator is exactly the same pretty much as the vintage Nightstorm Predator, so NECA basically followed suit here. Standing them side by side, you can see the similarities, and there are only a few minor differences aside from the color, such as the armor sculpting isn't exactly the same running down the stomach of the figure, and the blades on the right wrist are also different. But otherwise, the figure itself is exactly the same, so if you've already got Nightstorm, you know what to expect here. But let's still go ahead and take a close look at this figure, because I do still really love the sculpt work on this guy. Now, he does come out of the box with no mask on, so you got that great Predator mouth wide open with the mandible jaw there. Really great sculpted detail on this guy. He's got a fantastic look, very ferocious looking. And then he's got this awesome armor piece that kind of comes over his left shoulder there, kind of comes down the arm and covers up even the left forearm. It's got a really great amount of detail sculpted in there, kind of looks like it's pieced together with different pieces of metal, and it's all painted accordingly too. So even though that armor piece and a lot of that is the same as what we saw with Nightstorm, the big difference, of course, is going to be the paint deco here, because Scavage Predator is wearing more of a silver armor color combo, and I do love how it's just a very cool mesh of different silvers that's all worked throughout the armor there. He's got that little laser cannon up there on his left shoulder, and then we're going to run down, of course, to those blades that are sticking off of his right hand, which, as I mentioned, were different than what we saw on the Scavage Predator. But one thing I do want to point out with these while we're talking about them is that they are a bit fragile, and we have seen this on some other Predators in the past. Nightstorm was one of them. Comes out of the box a little fragile, so you got to be really careful. Mine was a little loose when I pulled it out, so you definitely don't want to snap that right here. Just a little bit of a warning that I want to put out there, but very cool looking. Like I said, different than what we saw in Scavage Predator, so it's nice that there are different blades on this guy and not exactly the same. I love the skin tone on this guy. It's this really great green tone that's got a great amount of different paint deco in there that really brings out all of the sculpted details of like his scaly skin and everything. But what I really love about it is just the way that the green kind of fades between light greens and dark greens and really kind of swirls around on his body there for a beautiful skin tone. Very cool and very unique for this specific Predator here. And all of that is highlighted nicely by sort of this blood red color that is seen on the braids hanging off the back of his head. So let's go ahead and talk articulation before we go on with the accessories on this guy. The head is on a joint that allows it to look left and right and move slightly up and down. It is definitely worth noting that the armor piece sitting on his shoulder as well as the little shoulder cannon is going to hinder that movement, so you're not going to get some really wide turns out of it. But that shoulder cannon can also move up and down and look side to side, which is pretty nice on there. He does have the ball joints at the shoulders, but again, you'll notice that the armor there is going to hinder that specifically on that left shoulder, but you can move the arms up and down, you can move them forwards and backwards. You've got swivels at the bicep, a standard elbow joint, and the wrists are ball jointed, so you can swivel the hands and kind of roll them around there. The torso is just a standard cut at the waist. You can turn them left and right. It is kind of blocked just a little bit by the loincloth piece that he's wearing there. And one of the things that's a little bit different on this guy than we see on some of the other recent Predators is he's kind of got the die cuts at the thighs. He doesn't have ball joints, so the legs just kind of move forwards and backwards, sort of in that diagonal there. He does have nice ball joints at the knees there, so you can swivel at the knee as well as bend at the knee, which is really nice. And then the ankles are also nicely articulated there, which is how you roll the foot around. So the articulation isn't as flexible, or he's definitely not as super articulated as some of the other Predators that we've been taking a look at, but still has a really great sculpt, and you can still pull off some pretty good poses with this guy as well. It's just not going to be as dynamic as some of the others. So let's talk about those accessories. One of the great things about Scavage Predator, just like we saw with Nightstorm, is the fact that he includes a removable mask. It is the same mask, so it kind of has that scarab shape to the top of it, but this time it's done in that silver color instead of the gold color that we saw with Nightstorm. And one of the things that's really, really great about this, and it's the same thing I said about the Nightstorm mask, not only does it have a really great deco and paint job on the outside, but the inside of that mask is amazingly detailed. I mean, look at all that sculpt work that is done on the inside. It's got a nice wash on there, so it really brings out all of those little sculpted details. And you can plug it right onto Predator very nicely. Fits very snug on his face and gives the figure a completely different look. This is really cool because that vintage figure also had a removable mask, so it's really great to see NECA keeping that feature on their version of the figure. And lastly, he also includes this incredibly cool staff. Again, a shared accessory from Nightstorm Predator, but still very cool nonetheless. One of the things that's really neat about it, of course, that really stands out is the fact that there's a skull with a spine dangling from it that is stuck on the top of the spear. And instead of being gold, like we saw with Nightstorms, this one is of course done in a silver color, but one of the things I really like about it is there's some really nice blood splatter seen on the top here and kind of running all the way down the spine and the top of the spear. So it really makes it stand out, and it's a very cool looking weapon. So there you go, my friends. There is a look at the brand new Scavage Predator figure from NECA Toys. I really wish I had the vintage version from Kenner that I could do comparison time with, but unfortunately this is another one of those Kenner figures that I don't have to compare them to side by side. But I loved that vintage Kenner line, and I really love what NECA's doing here by giving us some updated versions of those very cool and very unique looking Predator figures. This is another solid figure. Even though it does share parts that we've already seen on previous Predators, he still has a very unique look, and I specifically love that bright green color that is used on his skin tone. He really stands out as something special. So I'd like to give a special thanks out to NECA Toys for sending this along for us to take a closer look at here. This wave is hitting store shelves right now, and you can pick it up at online retailers. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and also subscribe so you never miss out on a review. Happy hunting, my friends, and until next time.